you guys today about how we think about AR, how we think about the camera, and really what we are prioritizing kind of over the next few years. In terms of AR and how we think about it, we really think about it as the mixture of pixels and atoms. And what we mean by that is if you really think about taking this digital world, this internet, these pixels, and overlaying it on atoms, absolutely anything is possible. Anything in the world becomes a surface. Everything can be a game. Everything can be interactive. Everything can communicate with you and directly at you. And so that's what we're really excited about, and it feels like the industry is excited as well. If you look at the Google Trends and how many people are searching for the term augmented reality, you see a lot of activity. And when you look at this trend of how many people search for augmented reality, you might really think, wow, this must have been the last year, the last couple of years. It really feels like there's so much momentum. But that's actually not true. This is the Google trend for augmented reality since 2008. And so when you look at this trend, I think for me what comes to mind is, all right, we've been talking about this for actually quite a while, but it's not here yet. So I think the question that comes to mind is now the time? Is now the time that AR actually takes off, that we all actually start seeing it everywhere, or are we going to spend another 10 years just talking about augmented reality like we have been over the last 10? Well, at Snapchat, we do believe that now is the time that augmented reality can actually take off. And the reason why we believe that is because of this. And when I show this, I actually don't mean specifically the iPhone 10 or Apple. I'm actually just talking about the camera. The camera has really gone through some fundamental shifts from 2008 to 2018 that makes now the time that AR can actually take off, and take off at scale, and take off in a way that marketers can really take advantage of that. And so the three trends that have really happened with the camera over the last 10 years have been smartphone usage and adoption, a shift in communication, and the third one is an innovation in technology. And I'm going to talk a little bit about all of these. Now, the reason why the camera is so important for augmented reality is because it is through the lens of a camera that you can actually create AR. Because it is through the lens of a camera that you can input everything that's happening in your real-world environment and be able to layer on digital elements on top. And so the camera is the device from which AR can really exist. And so the camera is really fundamental for it taking off. Now, if you look at the last 10 years, it's been pretty incredible the rise in smartphone ownership, right? In 2008, 220 million smartphone owners. Well, in 2018, over 2 billion smartphone owners. Now, this is important because it is the most widespread camera that's available, right? Why did AR, even though everyone was talking about it in 2008, why didn't it take off? Well, because in 2008, it actually would have required a lot of people to go out and buy this unique camera or this unique device just for AR. And it's hard to kind of really shift a widespread consumer behavior. Now, it's not that we don't believe that in the future, everyone will have a headset or glasses for AR and VR. We actually do believe that it will be the future, but it's not happening today, and it definitely didn't happen in 2008. But what everyone does have in the palm of their hands throughout the entire day is their smartphone, and their smartphone has a camera. And so all of a sudden for AR, and the reason why AR really all of a sudden took some priority over VR for some use cases and broad use cases is because everyone had a camera in their palm of their hands all day. And it's not stopping here. These numbers are continuing to increase and expected to rise to over 3 billion by 2022. So first off is now everyone has the device for which AR can actually happen. And what you've seen with this rise in smartphone ownership, to absolutely no surprise, is that it's not that people are just using their phone for texting and calling. The camera is such an important part of how much time you spend on your phone. And we saw that with Apple. You know, they recently released a stat which basically said that over 1 trillion photos are taken on Apple devices around the world. That's in 1 year alone. So over 1 trillion photos. And it's because everyone has their camera with them at all times. So the reason why AR and now AR is because number one, people actually have a device that AR can be rendered in all day at any moment. Now, the second thing that's happened over the last 10 years has been a shift in communication. And in order to really understand this, you actually have to look back to the last 100 years in communication. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I think about my grandmother and how she would communicate, it was by picking up a pen and paper and writing her friends a letter. Now all of a sudden you think about my mom and how she would communicate, it was by picking up the phone and calling her friends. Now think about the impact of this technology on us as a society. Think about how many close friends my grandmother had versus my mom, when my mom could much more easily connect with a broader group of people. Now, of course, the invention of the mobile phone had another huge shift. And so when I think about myself and how I mostly communicate, it is through text messaging. And please ignore this extremely awkward photo that I will hopefully pass through very quickly of me with my awesome Samsung device where I texted all the time. And so text messaging has replaced the way we communicate. If someone calls you, you think, oh my gosh, what happened, right? That's a crazy shift that's happened with the phone. Someone calls you and something's wrong, or it's like that one friend who always calls and you're like, oh, it's our weekly call, you know, it's that one friend. But no one picks up the phone anymore. Everyone text messages. That blinking cursor of the text message replaced calling people. But there's actually been another shift in communication. And the reason why many of you in this room aren't yet aware of it is because it hasn't caught up to all generations yet. Mostly this trend is happening with Gen Zs and Millennials, and that is the camera. This generation is using the camera for communication. This is about taking a photo in order to say hello. This is about communication, not just taking a selfie to show how cool you look and posting it to a large social network. I'm talking about communication. And so I think a really great example of that, and I'll give you a personal example, is my brother. My brother recently got married, so cute, and he did the thing that like all millennials love to do, which is a destination wedding, so my parents were, not very happy. So of course the destination weddings takes so much arrangement, communication. My brother and I happened to be landing around the same time, so we were going to arrange the car together because it was a 2-hour drive somewhere else. So what's the conversation that we had? Very basic conversation. My brother, his name is Donato, not a lie, that's actually his name, it's Donato. So my brother texted me, hi, just landed. I responded, great. He said, where do I meet you? And I said, baggage claim bar, right? Normal conversation. We have dozens of these conversations every day through text messaging. This is not how we communicated. Instead, my brother sent me this. Where are you, just landed? So cute. I would say blushing bride, but he's the groom. And I responded with this, at the bar waiting for you. This was the exact same conversation, but it was done with visuals. This was about talking with pictures. And when we took these photos, we did not take these photos with the intention of saving them to our camera roll and looking back at them. This was not about taking these photos to preserve a memory. This was about taking a photo for the instant of conversation. We never want to look at these again. This is about talking with pictures. And the reason why I talk about this is because it means that the camera, especially for this generation, isn't just being used a few times on the weekend to show the really cool restaurant that you went to, or to commemorate that amazing friend's wedding. The camera for this generation is being used dozens of times every single day because they're using the camera for communication. And so when you think about the shifts in the camera from 2008 to 2018, you have to not only look at the fact that everyone has one, but that people are using it on a daily basis at such a velocity. And while, of course, when text messaging first came about, I started texting my friends before my mother did, but now my mother texts all her friends and actually has the most hilarious group chat that I wish I was a part of. And the same is true with this visual communication. Yes, it is starting with Gen Zs and Millennials because they are camera natives. They grew up in a time where the camera was intrinsic to how they lived their life. But actual visual communication is so much more expressive and it's so much more powerful than just text. And so eventually, as cameras become more proliferated, as it's easier to access them, as they're not taking up all the storage in your phone, all of a sudden more and more people will use the camera more often. This behavior behavior of talking with pictures is central to Snapchat. Snapchat's not a typical social platform. A typical social platform is you take a photo on your native camera phone, and then you upload it for your lots and lots of kind of social network to view. Most of the behavior on Snapchat is actually one-to-one communication. It's one-to-one talking. And so that's why we actually see 1 trillion photos and videos taken on Snapchat every single year. We have the exact same volume of photos and videos taken as all Apple devices in the world. That is just on Snapchat's native camera. That's how much our camera is being used because of this shift in talking with pictures. Now, the third key trend that's happening with the camera is, of course, an innovation in technology. You can't compare the sophistication and the quality of the AR experiences from 2008 to 2018. And the reason why this is really important is because what this new technology does is it changes the function of the camera. What do I mean by that? The camera was invented to take a picture. That was literally the purpose of the camera. It was to preserve a memory and capture a moment. But what this new technology has meant is that now the camera is no longer being used to just take a picture. People are now using the camera to have fun. They just want to have a gamified experience. How many people use their camera with Pokemon Go? They didn't actually take a picture with every Pokemon, right? But they're using their camera for this interactive experience. Or for utility, right? You look at IKEA, you look at what they're doing. This is about visual product trial. This is not about necessarily actually taking a photo of this, fake chair in your room. This is about you. This is about you and that moment of information, not about your network, not necessarily about preserving. And so, of course, with Snapchat, that is really key. At Snapchat, we open straight to the camera. And the reason why we do that is because we believe the camera is the starting point for the new OS. The camera is your now new starting point. Why? Because the camera can do so much more than taking a picture. In real time, Snapchat's camera is figuring out what the weather is so that we can serve you the weather. We're analyzing surfaces and faces so that we can determine augmented reality experiences. Through our integration with Shazam, if you hold and press on our camera, we can actually tell you what song is playing. There is so much that's happening in Snapchat's camera every day. And I love the example of the weather filter because it seems very simple. The reason why we launched weather filter inside Snapchat's camera was because people were taking so many photos, we want to give them creative tools to make their photo more contextually relevant. What is better than expressing your mood than to show the weather when it's raining, right? Like this dreary day we have outside. But what happened when we launched the weather filter is that all of a sudden we saw this huge spike in usage of our weather filter in the morning, but then people weren't posting or sharing those pictures. They were just exiting out. And we were like, what's happening? Is there something inappropriate or offensive coming through our weather filter? No. Everyone started using Snapchat's camera to just figure out what to wear that day. Our users stopped using weather.com. They stopped using a weather app, and now they just use Snapchat's camera to figure out the weather. Most recently, we launched an integration with Amazon with product search. So now, if you hold and press Snapchat's camera against a physical product, you can actually integrate with Amazon to find products similar to that. And so when we talk about the camera, we're talking about so much more than taking a photo. Now, all of this in terms of, from a Snapchat perspective, of course, if you think about augmented reality on Snapchat, you might not think of this, but this is what AR is on Snapchat. And usually if you Google augmented reality, you get someone in like a headset, it's very technical. That's not what we prioritized. We prioritized engagement. We prioritized giving someone creative tools because we thought that's what was going to train them on how to use augmented reality, on bringing augmented reality into their daily life, and that's exactly what it did. Every single day, 70 million people play with augmented reality on Snapchat. That's every single day. So one of the biggest challenges in the AR, VR, mixed reality space is scale. How do you get enough people after the investment of time and effort of building this beautiful AR or VR experience? How do you get enough people to see it to warrant your time and your energy as a marketer? Well, it is possible. Scale can be achieved, and scale, of course, we see that on Snapchat. 70 million people every day, an average of 3 minutes per user per day, 250 million pieces of content shared with augmented reality. This doesn't include friends who view your post with AR. That's not even included in these numbers. This is about the camera. And so, why should you care? Why should marketers care about all of these shifts in the camera? Well, if you think about your job as a marketer, your job as a marketer is to build a media plan. And when you're building your media plan, wow, this looks like a very long media plan right now because of these 3 screens. Hopefully you don't have as many line items. But when you're building your media plan, you're basically thinking, all right, where should I put my time? Where should I push my story for my brand where I'm actually going to reach my audience and drive sales, right? Or drive that goal and that conversion that I have. You've spent the last 10 years figuring out social media marketing. Why? Because that's where your audience is. You realize your audience was spending so much time here, this is an incredible opportunity to reach people. And so that's what you're doing as a marketer, figuring out where to push your story. Well, because of the shift in the camera's role in people's life, because more people than ever have access to a camera because of smartphone adoption, because people are now using the camera not just a few times on the weekend, but every day throughout the day, and because now the camera is something you can use not just to take a picture, but to have fun, but to figure out what to buy, all of a sudden, the camera represents an opportunity of mass reach. The camera is where your audience is. And you've had to shift all of your goals over the last 5 to 10 years towards mobile, because that's where your audience is. Well, where are they on mobile? The camera is actually increasingly a really important part of people's mobile experience. And the reason why I think it's so critical as a marketer is because you have a unique advantage on mobile with the camera. And it's because the camera requires action. This isn't a passive experience. When you have your camera open, you're looking at every single corner of that screen. You are paying attention. Attention is the other buzzword in marketing because it is so hard to capture attention. Well, you better believe that you're leaned in when you have the camera open. And we actually saw that. So IPG ran a recent study across augmented reality lenses on Snapchat versus standard ads. And these AR experiences have 4x increased retention for brands when pushing an AR ad. And it makes sense, you know, how much more likely are you to remember a brand when it's on your face versus when it was in the bottom corner of your peripheral vision when you were trying to go through a feed. It's a very different experience, and so of course the impact is going to be greater. So the question really remains for advertisers is, all right, this is actually where my audience is, and this is where they're paying attention. How can I do this effectively, scalably, and efficiently is the biggest other thing that I think needs to be solved with marketers. But that's why we believe that while you have had to spend the last 10 years figuring out how social media works, how it fits into your media plans, we believe you're going to spend the next 10 years figuring out this new thing called camera marketing. And the idea of camera marketing is just the camera as an ad placement. That's what it is. And it's not necessarily going to be easy, just like figuring out social wasn't easy, but social, after you figured it out, was extremely effective for your brands. And the camera is the next thing. The camera will evolve. And we don't just mean Snapchat's camera, although that would be great. No, if we're talking about the camera in general, this might be the native camera on people's iPhones. It might be the camera within Amazon's app. It might be the camera on Snapchat, on Facebook, perhaps in your own first-party app that you will develop. It's really just about the camera. Now, camera marketing on Snapchat looks a little bit like this. And really how we like to break it down is that you can bring an ad into the camera in 2 key ways. Either before someone takes a picture or after someone takes a picture. Before someone takes a picture, that's where augmented reality lives, right? Augmented reality happens before someone takes a picture because it's the real life feed overlaid with digital elements. But that's not the only way you can advertise in a camera. You can also advertise in a camera with something as simple as a sticker or a filter. Now imagine being someone like McDonald's and having millions of people come into your locations every day, taking photos, because that actually happens a lot in McDonald's every single day. How, as a marketer, can you join those moments where your brand is most relevant? That's really about joining after someone takes a picture, because they're about to share content. Before someone takes a picture, all of a sudden, this is a limitless opportunity of just playtime. How can you capture that time with people one-on-one? How can you drive that consideration? Now, augmented reality has been an ad product that we've been pushing at Snapchat for 2.5 years. We have run thousands of ad campaigns with AR. And so while the industry feels like it's still right in its infancy for Snap, this is something that we have thousands and thousands of studies on to figure out what's working and how to do it effectively. Now there's 3 key areas where as a marketer you can leverage AR. One of them is just incredible storytelling possibilities. Now this is a great example from Burberry, right? Burberry had these video assets of this new story for this new perfume that they were launching everywhere. How do they really not just tell someone their story, but bring someone into the story to actually be able to experience it firsthand? And that's what they did with this ad experience. And so many other brands are leveraging AR in this idea of holistic storytelling, of capturing awareness, of building perception for a brand. Of course, another key way you can use AR is for a product launch. So these are 2 really great examples from different verticals. So one is for NBA 2 games, which is, a sports game, and people could buy that game. And what they did for their launch of their new game is that they built an AR experience, leveraging assets actually from the game itself. All these 3D characters had to be built for this game. They imported them with Snapchat, and we built this AR experience. Of course, on the right-hand side is Deadpool, for the product launch of the Deadpool movie. How can you really motivate millions and millions of people? Well, on a single day, an advertiser can reach 20 million people on a single day with an AR ad on Snapchat, in just one day, just in the United States. And so we're talking about scale that is achievable. But not every brand has the budget to reach 20 million people, 50 million impressions, which is the average of what you get when you're airing one day in such a blast moment. Other brands have smaller budgets or more targeted approaches with different objectives. And there's different buy models for that. There's this perception that AR is so expensive, but that's not actually true. The last key, I think objective, of course, is virtual trial and sales. This is the one that comes to mind all the time, which is how do I show somebody my product? How do I bring my product closer to someone so they can experience it and know the benefits? So here's an example from Clairol, which had a hair color, and of course you could try on that hair color and then visit Target's website to actually go and purchase it. So how do you really close the funnel? Here's another example from BMW, where you can swipe up from the BMW ad and actually then go and experience that BMW right there in your home. So I wanted to show you guys this case study, and this is kind of one of the last things I'm going to show you. And I'll talk a little bit afterwards about how this came to life, but it really epitomizes an amazing use of AR for a brand that had real objectives of sales, right? This isn't just something that's cool and fancy and buzzworthy. It's something that's going to drive performance. So let me share this one with you guys, and hopefully the volume works.
Creativity and imagination is the key. Plus, he's got to make the dough.
To celebrate 30 years since Michael Jordan's iconic free throw line dunk, we created an experience just as iconic. By recreating Michael in 3D, we brought him back to the court. This time in augmented reality for fans around the world. Users could experience all 6'6" of Michael flying through the air, true to his pose on the court in 1988. But this was no ordinary Snapchat AR lens.
The sneaker was released on Snapchat, allowing customers to purchase the shoe on the app.
That same Snapchat lens allowed users to purchase the Air Jordan 3 Tinkers. We partnered with Shopify to power the geofence commerce experience directly in Snapchat. Interacting with MJ, users are prompted to start their purchase. Fans would have the ability to quickly pick their size, add the exclusive sneakers to their bag, and complete their order within seconds. We then leveraged Dark Store for their express last mile delivery service to get the sneakers direct to fans in under 2 hours, successfully creating a social commerce experience in augmented reality. The sneakers sold out in 23 minutes. The links generated 4 times the user engagement in Snapchat, and the world looked at e-commerce in a whole new way.
So I love this example. And the reason why I love this example is because you might look at it and think, oh wow, but that must have been so expensive. And of course, because it's Nike, it's Jordan, it's, those are the types of brands that can use this type of AR experience. That's actually not true. This was a true collaboration. We actually ended up partnering with NBA 2K Games, which is a gaming, and they actually had the asset of Jordan doing a dunk. We took that 3D asset that already exists, we imported it into our software, we kind of tailored it a little bit, and we pushed it out. And because it was something that was targeted to a specific group of people, this is something that can really scale. Advertisers today on Snapchat can push an AR experience out to our users for as little as $50 a day. And so it doesn't have to be something that's really expensive. And the reason why this also was made possible is because of the democratization of AR creation. The other biggest barrier to AR isn't just scale, it's creation. It is harder to get something made in AR than it is to, of course, make a print ad, because AR and rendering in 3D isn't necessarily a very known skill just yet. But with tools that are going out to the public, it is becoming that way. Now, at Snapchat, outside of Snapchat, if you really look, building AR was such a difficult thing and only made for experts even just a few years ago. But now with the launch of AR tools and software development tools that are available to the public, that's not necessarily true. Lens Studio is the name of Snapchat software. We published the software to the public late last year. And in only less than a year, we've seen the community create 250,000 AR experiences themselves, with over 15 billion views of the assets that our creative community is developing. This software is free to download. It has all of these templates so that even if you're not a 3D person who knows how to build in 3D, you can build a lens. Although I work on AR at Snapchat, I'm not a 3D expert who builds in 3D. And I can make an AR experience in as little as a minute and a half. This is actually something that's at people's fingertips today. And so what it means for brands is that you can all of a sudden yourself, or with a creative expert, go and build an AR experience and actually transport someone all into an immersive experience for your brand. And what the beauty of AR is that you're not actually taking them out of their real life. If you actually turn around, you can see even in this example, you've never left the beach. And so it's just such an important thing for brands to start to understand that it doesn't have to be expensive, that it can be something that's targeted, and it actually can be about performance. And that's not something that's still 5 years from now. That's something that's happening today. So I think if you remember anything from the presentation, the one thing I would just challenge you as a marketer is to just think about the camera differently. That's it. Just think a little bit more about what the camera means for your customers. Think about how, as a brand, you can leverage that, and really how you can get ahead of the shift that's happening and what's really going to happen over the last 5 to 10 years, so that you're not one of those brands who kind of was late to the game on mobile, right, or late to the game on social, because this really is the next key medium. Thank you.